Okay. So one of the ones I wanted to ask you about was kind of like where you think HEMA's going in the next 10 years. And it's a kind of a tacky question, but I think like here's the thing is not where you want it to go, but where
Right.
do you think it's
Where
headed?
do you think it's headed? It's a good one. We are probably going to see a shift again. So in the beginning, it was very martial focused, and then the sport stuff came up, and then the sport stuff kind of dominated. You're going to see a shift into the semi-professional form of it and recreational is where I see the two shifts happening. And you're going to see like more rec programs taking it up. You see it in high schools, that kind of thing. And then you'll have like clubs that just run it and do it. And then they'll just be like specialty clubs, I guess, if you will. That's where I think it's going to next. Because a lot of it is, um, do whatever you want. You have a bunch of weapons, everyone has fun and that kind of thing. And then I think with more people in the pot, so to speak, you're going to find people's like, I actually want to go here for this reason. I want to go here for that reason. These folks are really good. This stylization is, I want to train this, that kind of thing. I think that's where it's going to go.
hmm And so you're thinking like less of that happening in the same club and kind of it'll
Yeah.
be in different clubs that specialize.
Yeah. Different. Because I'm not saying that people in the club won't do what they want to
Yeah.
do, but people become more noted for certain things,
Yeah.
right? So you might have a club, say somewhere in the States, it's very much about like rapier, and they produce a lot of top like rapier fencers, or some club that does a lot of saber broadsword. They're the go-to people for that, right? Then there's the long, so you find people are kind of just they're going to have programs that really work, and they get a lot of success from, and you're going to see that shift where people are going to try to train. It's not exclusively, but they'll definitely fly off to
Yeah. And
a
specialize
spot
in something.
to specialize in something, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like MMA now, where some people will definitely go to Jackson Wink for striking,
Yeah.
right? Or they'll head to uh, Faraz Zahabi for particular like cage work control, that kind of
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
right? They'll do that situation, right? So you're going to see that kind of thing where
What about like leagues when you're talking about different leagues? Because like we're seeing, okay, maybe I'll give a little bit of context for this,
mm-hmm.
but it's like what I see happening is there seems to be a big formation of leagues. Like you have kind of like the French people
Yep,
doing their thing that's based
yep,
off of épée,
yep,
Tier How right of way,
yep,
Lotus stuff, which is branching off into different leagues, our stuff that we're
yep,
doing, and some of them in the States that are kind of keeping that like American style
yep.
of competition. What do you see kind of happening with that?
You're probably going to have some of them amalgamate into one thing.
Yeah.
Not all of them,
Yeah.
but some of them will amalgamate.
Yeah.
Because people are just going to realize, hey, we're doing the same thing, and and you're going to see it grow in that aspect. You're going to see some, kind of like certain, let's say, events or certain rule sets that are really popular in one chunk, or if you go to this thing and it's that you're going to see that kind of branch
Yeah.
going off where you're going to not have like a league for everything, but there's going to be maybe two or three
Yeah.
that like really stand out, and those are the ones that like people will either fall into or try to get into, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's where it's going to
I
go.
could totally see that happen. I think you're right. It'll still be a multiplicity. Like I think there's going to
Yeah,
be a bunch of them.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But there's going to be you're going to find like some of the bigger ones who,
yeah,
because there are other groups who are doing similar things, are just going to join in, and now it's like a bigger form of that league going
yeah.
forward.
And I think like one of the things that I want to focus on in the next coming few years is a little bit more on the trade craft in like judging, refing,
Yeah,
organizing. It would be really nice because like you went to Tier and How. Zach has told me about some of the
yeah,
events that he went to and how it was like really crisp, really run well. Is I almost thinking of like visiting places to do a little bit of apprenticeship
yeah.
for
For
running, like for
onboarding
organizing
and
it.
yeah, yeah.
And I feel like that's not quite done yet.
No, and I think when you think of the amount of capital that you need, and the amount of strategic resources you need to bring to bear to be
Yeah.
able to do it, like certain places are going to naturally have the ability to run very large scale,
Yeah.
very well run events.
Like between Czech and Slovakia, the
Yeah,
two
yeah,
of them are working together all
right.
the time.
You're going to have that kind of situation, and they're working to that common goal. Um, but I think one of the barriers that's going to, run into that people run into, um, is sometimes they have an event that it becomes so popular that they don't have the staff for it,
Yeah.
right? It just grows too quickly, and they need to like kind of keep their staff on par with the growth. And that's a difficult thing to do because reffing isn't easy.
Well, I think we see that in Canada. It's like
Yeah.
there'll be a big boom, people signing up, but that's not the case for necessarily each club bringing a ref with them or
Yeah.
somebody that's trained in the system.
Yeah. So you might see something like, I'm not saying that we would do it, but you can see some people maybe even suggesting, hey, if you are coming to an event, would one of your offenses be interested in reffing for something that they're not doing, like, and you just say that, yeah, we got a couple of people who will help you out, that kind of thing. And it works out better because, like, that person can spend time at their own club learning how to ref one particular event that they're not doing, and they're just good at reading it or whatever, right? And you might see some of that, and I think that's probably the way to go, is have people say, hey, look, we need staff, right? And there could be some sort of compensation for them or something.
Yeah, I think there has to be, because
right?
otherwise
Yeah.
it's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time, yeah. And no one wants to, and it's difficult work.
The person that I think right now could do that is somebody like myself or a head organizer.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm making a little bit of money, I'm getting paid for my own event, and I know the more professional I run it, the bigger draw that there'll be, or I can get more people to it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the only people motivated to right now. But your average Joe, like club member, is not going to be motivated to learn how to ref, or
no, I mean,
other than just practicing in club.
Yeah,
but I mean, like getting
culture. There has to be a culture of it too, right?
Yes.
There has to be a culture of reffing. Yeah. And like adjudicating and officiating. Yeah. Like it has to be that. So,
and that's one of the reasons why we started running events every 10 weeks.
Right.
Is because we have local ones, and now pretty much everybody's okay at least like side judging. Yeah. And definitely.
And for us,
directing.
like even for us, like back home, you cannot have a bout unless it's ref or officiated. Even if you're just playing around, there has to be a third person.
That's not a bad idea.
Right, it's like
it catches all the safety gear stuff that sometimes gets missed.
It has to happen.
Yeah, untipped weapon or something. So maybe back ahead.
Let's say, hey, coach, I want to spar. You got a ref? No, find someone.
And they're forced to.
Yeah,
just like foil. Yeah. You have to have.
You have to have a ref, right? For whatever you're doing, you must have a ref. And that's how we kind of instill that training of, no, you have to judge. Right, you just can't fence. You have to judge. It's
that's definitely something to think about.
I don't. Some of them would say, "Well, I don't like judging." It's like, no, it's a skill you have to learn. Do it.
Yeah,
that's it. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Right, and it helps people too, because like sometimes the issue with people reffing is they don't like to have that perceived authority. There's a drawback, or a hang up, if you will, an emotional hang up of like, I don't like yelling, or I don't like telling people no, and that. So it's like, well, no, it's your job, and they're going to respect you. You're not going to argue. So it kind of puts some people who are conflict averse into conflict,
right?
But in a controlled way, right, where they can just manage it. And that's
and the other thing that I found it really helpful for my guys is, like, especially as we're training for this right away tournament, is, okay, now you know what it's like to be the ref, and it's like what you feel you're doing is not what you're doing, right? It's not what it looks like from their perspective, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like managing, like realizing, okay, I need to make it look like this. I need to make it look convincing and sell it to the ref, because the small stuff, or if I angle off to the side, I can't expect them to see everything.
Right, and it changes your modality of fighting.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Completely changes it, depending on which rule set you're going to, the level of judging. Like, there's a whole lot of
You're also fighting the refs.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Right, and you have to make their job easier.
Yeah.
Right? The worst thing you can do is constantly argue about which touch is which, and then argue with the official. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
Right? Because in that case, well, you clearly are seeing better than them. And I'm not saying that there's some instances where that doesn't happen.
It'll happen, but it shouldn't happen very often.
But it shouldn't happen very often. No.
Yeah. Yeah. So then kind of another one is like where would you want it to go? Like if you actually did have a say.
Well, when I did my interview with Guy Windsor a couple of years back, I was thinking of, I said to him, it's probably going to end up in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not quite sure if it's going to go there. I think it might actually go towards like professional sports league, kind of like Premiership football.
Yeah.
Right? So there's different football premierships around the world.
Yeah.
Lots of them. There's the English Prem, and there's different this and that. And I think you're going to find a situation like that.
So like sporting leagues.
Yeah, like a sporting league thing where you're going to have like something that's quite prestigious.
Yeah.
Right? that is probably on par with the Olympics, or in terms of recognition.
Yeah, yeah,
Not
like
that you're,
NHL, something
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
like the NHL or whatever. You're going to have that kind of thing. It's like, oh, again, and people are going to tune in and may want to see it and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And I think the big thing with a sport like fencing, though, is it is not as watchable as other events because it is so fast.
Hmm.
And that's even with modern Olympic fencing. It's unless you have studied it, you are been around it,
Hmm.
you don't really know what the heck is going on.
Well, it's
And
like jujitsu in the early
yeah,
days. It looked really boring and nobody had no
yep,
clue. And now people actually watch pure jujitsu.
yes.
And that
And
would have
you
never been a thing
never
before.
think so. You look at the ADCC,
Yeah.
right? And it's packed, and people are watching these matches take place, the finals and stuff. And those people understand the game,
Hmm.
right? And I think as it grows and it's because it's very fast growing. As it continues to do that, you're going to find more and more of that happening, where you will get events where people are just going to watch it
Hmm.
and they're watching it play out,
Hmm.
right? And you're going to find people who just like they develop the eyes for it. They know, okay, this is this, and I don't see people like right now. There's a current thing in modern Olympic fencing where they're trying to kind of redo some of it, so it's better for optics
Yeah.
when you're watching and stuff.
It's like having the thing following the puck, you
Yeah,
know?
following the
Yeah.
point and all that
Yeah.
kind of thing, and that's really only in replay, right?
Yeah. That's the only value.
It's the only value. It's in
Yeah.
replay.
Yeah. And I almost think like HEMA's more watchable.
Yeah.
So especially like the one that I really like for watching is just the continuous rounds
Mm-hmm.
because the action never stops. And I find that I don't stop and start it because otherwise you need like a little bit of a playback service. So it'll be like the point and then
Yeah.
it plays back as they're deliberating, right?
Yeah.
But even that is kind of stopping and starting.
Yeah.
In person as a spectator sports, the continuous is almost better for that unless you have really highly trained judges.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tieran Hall, I had an easy time watching because it was just like
Yes.
bam, bam,
Yep.
ata no, riposte,
Yep.
yes, you know, and continue.
Yep.
And it was quick. But I think sometimes if you break it up too much, like the continuous is better for as a spectator
Well,
sport.
I think when you touch on that, it's something that like when it comes to like refereeing, right?
Mhm.
The fencers don't care about the explanation as to what's happened,
Yeah.
right? Unless they challenge.
Yeah.
So you just have to say attack, counter attack, yes,
Yeah.
or whatever. Attack, no. You know, parry, riposte. But what you can do simple stuff like that, or you can say attack, yes, counter attack, no.
And sometimes
Attack,
if
no.
you're in a bad headspace, they're
Yeah.
giving you the answers of what's going
Yeah,
wrong.
what's going wrong, right? And
Yeah.
but the thing is, like, unless there needs to be a deliberation, you find like a lot of people take a long time talking about what they just witnessed, and they're talking out loud.
And oftentimes the consensus isn't any more accurate.
No, then,
Like it you know what I mean? When you talk about it, it almost distorts it.
yeah,
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, you know, when like I said, like back at our home club, like if you're going to challenge the ref, it has to be like for like, I think this is what happened, but I defer to your judgment, right?
I think most of the times where I've made bad calls, if I look at it, bad calls
Yeah.
that were maybe important,
Yeah,
were times where I deliberated with everybody when I should have just thrown it out.
yep. And that's what we do. We just when in doubt, chuck it out.
Yeah.
Just toss it.
Okay. We're gonna shift gears. I got a good question for you. Masters.
Mm.
To you, what makes a legitimate master? What is the path to legitimacy for you personally? And this is not to put anybody down. This is just your concept of what the ideal process is.
Well, the ideal process for me is first time served, and then innovation, and after innovation, you go to mastery. So you have to put your hours in, do the grind and grunt work your way up, get proficient. When you get proficient, you're going to become recognized for proficient. That's all that is, right? When you become proficient enough to start innovating things. So you start innovating, like you might revisit a particular text or something, and then you have your way of doing it, and then it becomes the adopted way of doing it because you're now pushing the discussion forward, right? For people that are looking for more like historical clarity, right? And I think after the innovation is then now your personal journey, because I think what changes is how you approach fencing. Like I've been doing fencing now for a long time, right? Like
20 or 20 years. Yeah.
20 plus years,
Yeah.
right? Because like I started when I'm 35 now,
Yeah.
and I started at 13.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
been a long time,
Yeah. So 22.
right? And the way how I fence when I was 21 is different than how I fence now. And you begin to start deepening your understanding of things. And
Well, I almost think like part of, not to cut you off,
yeah,
but part of that is like your personal limitations.
yeah,
It's like you can get away with that stuff when you're young.
when you're young,
You encounter
yeah,
limitations, and it makes you, now you've explored both being young and being old,
being old,
or
yeah.
fencing at a
And I
disadvantage.
always remember Maestro, who was one of my first coaches. He told us, like all of us as little whippersnappers, fencing is a sport that requires 2 lifetimes to master,
Yeah,
right?
of course. Yeah.
It requires to, and only now that I'm in the other phase of it is when I'm starting to, oh yeah, he was right.
Yeah.
He was right because the depth that you get to when you've reached the zenith, there's more beyond it. And that's when you start to really head to the other territory, right? And it's like, and it just goes into like the way how you approach your fights, the way how you set up your attacks, the way how you do things. Before, like you would rely on speed, you would rely on strength, and everybody does that, right? When they're young, because they think, oh, faster. If my prep time is quicker off the draw, I'm just going to get the point and stuff. And then you realize, like, let's looks outside of HEMA. Let's look at veterans Olympic fencing, right? And the difference between veteran saber and
Yeah. It's more of a classical
right,
game.
it's more of a classical
Yeah.
game. So you're seeing all of the things that you're drilling
Yeah.
as a young saber,
Yeah.
right? That very rarely come up in your matches.
Yeah.
By the time you're 45, 50, all those same things are coming back
Well, I
again.
feel like that too, because it's like as you're getting older, you realize, oh, this is what my coach was preparing me for. This is
Yes,
what they've been trying to tell me,
this is
but I had
right.
to learn the lesson myself.
Yeah, and the thing is like your mastery for me at this point now, or the idea of a master is someone who prepares another person to be a master.
Hmm.
And it's not like I'm preparing you to be proficient. You will be proficient. You can be proficient in months.
Hmm.
You can be excellent within a year. But truly proficient, truly transcending beyond the proficiency into that master level is I'm now training you for when your body can't do the things it's doing now.
Hmm.
That's what I'm training you for.
Yeah.
Because I'm now walking that journey too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. And I say that at 35. But there's a huge jump that's going to happen between 35 and 40.
Yeah.
Right. There's a huge jump.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think the necessary part too is what you were talking about was I think it's important to do the thesis. Like I think you need a thesis with it.
I would say there has to be innovation.
Yeah,
right?
innovation. And you
Innovation.
have to write the book.
You have to write. So, and the thing is, like, you have to write the book or add to a book.
Add to, yeah.
Right? Because you're going to have your own particular way of doing things. And I think we're at a point now in HEMA where we are no longer just doing something as pure whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? You do your form of broadsword.
And okay, yeah.
Right.
And I've had a change of heart recently because
Mhm.
before I felt like the only route to mastery was through kind of like classical and sport fencing,
Yep.
Olympic sport fencing. And I realize now I'm very wrong about that.
Yeah.
Because I think there's also like a connect. I think it should still have that connection. Like
Yeah.
I think the person, like if you get somebody like Loda or you
Mhm.
get somebody like Tom Pui or somebody
Yeah.
like that, they have that connection to fencing.
Yeah.
And that's important to be the leader for starting this new movement.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's required for the people that are going up into it, right?
No, because the game in Olympic fencing is very different. So
it's very different.
it's very different, right? So the skills, I would say at this point, like some of the skills cross over.
Mm-hmm.
But how I prepare a feint, for example, in HEMA, and we can look at broadsword, right? How you feint in broadsword, you break a lot of rules that you would do in Olympic fencing.
You have to.
And you have to,
Yeah.
because of just the nature of what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? So
Steve would hate what I do with broadsword.
yes, for the feint.
And I think I'm
100%.
very good at what I do for broadsword.
So like back at my club, we have an Olympian who is one of our coaches.
Yeah.
Right. A fellow named Lester Wong. Really, really awesome elderly gentleman. And he commented on my feints because I was coming up.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was coming
And
up,
that'll get you stopped.
and I guess you just
Yeah.
stop. Right. So more of just pushing in. Right. So there's these little subtle nuances.
Yep. And that's exactly what I was thinking, because Steve would say arm low as you do it. Right.
It's
and the second you're up, stop, cut to the arm.
It's these tiny little nuances.
But in broadsword, mostly you want it to be shoulder level as you're pushing out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you just have to understand this is the weapon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're realizing and that's why, like, when I teach now, I spend most of my time focusing on context and nuance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't worry about like basic operations anymore. Like there is a point for that, and that's when you're just starting the journey, because you have to become proficient in the basic things.
Yeah.
Right. And everything you're doing up, so like in SD we have the 3 ranks and stuff, right? When you become a lion rank, you're essentially proficient.
Yeah.
In multiple things.
Yeah.
Okay. But you have not gone to the next part.
No, which is teaching.
Right. And not saying that you're not learning to teach along the way.
Yeah, yeah.
But
it's a separate art.
It's a separate art.
Yeah.
And can you get...
And you almost need 3 lifetimes.
Well, yes, right.
to learn coaching on top of it, yeah.
But when you think about it, am I preparing... And that's the next... It's all about passing the torch.
Yeah.
Right? You're constantly passing the torch. This is what our predecessors did before us. They passed the torch. And when they realized that there wasn't anybody to carry the torch, they wrote books.
Yeah.
Right? Because that way the knowledge wasn't lost. At least they hoped it wouldn't be, but we know that some of it was.
A lot of it was.
Right? A lot of it was. And that's why that linear transmission between living people is like so key. Mm-hmm. Because
for Maestro, you're saying that that's necessary.
Yes,
you need that.
You need the transmission. You need that.
Yeah. But I think there's a different path forward. So if you get like some of the other folks that I would say would be HEMA trained, if they go through a training program where they're given the basics of fencing, because everybody's adopting it now, even people that aren't really classical fencers or sport fencers.
But it's the same thing. Like I keep saying, there's only one art.
Yeah, there's only one.
There's only one art.
And they're adopting the theory that works.
Yep.
And so that's becoming the paradigm. And I think it's almost like in folk music, where you learn how to play like something like boogie woogie piano. You learn that by being in a house with kids that also play that style of music, you know? Like it's taught in more of a folk style. So I think we're going to get that in HEMA, where these people are learning these historical styles, but they've absorbed a lot of the classical theory and everything just from being around it.
Well, see, the thing is like the top proponents of the sport now all do it.
Yeah.
So they control the narrative.
Yeah.
Right? There isn't anything that has changed in the sense it's always been that way from time immemorial. If you understand the art and you learn it classically and you go through all that proficiency and all that stuff, you will reach a point where you're extremely proficient. It's just simple as that, right? You can't work your way around it.
And you can't also underestimate the people who don't do that.
Yes.
Because they're also scary. Like they have beautiful, like from the games-based learning and stuff like that.
There's a lot of
beautiful, unusual skills that are worth exploring. And I think that's where it gets into the creative and innovative style.
Yeah.
Is you have to, like, if you look at back in the 70s with like épée, right? In Germany.
Yeah.
His style of learning épée was different. And I'm learning it now. And it's like, this is different, but it's still really, really good.
Yeah.
You have to allow people to do things completely differently.
Exactly. So like, because at the end of the day, all roads lead to Rome.
Yeah.
Right? You started one particular journey. But that doesn't mean that you're that much better than the other person.
Not at all.
Especially if that person's on par with you in terms of your proficiency.
Yeah. The second you're not humbled, that's when you get caught.
Yeah. And you have to look at, okay, is this person's proficient? But then when it comes to that, because again, to become a master is not really about, like I said, it's not about being the greatest or the best. Is can I prepare you for the second phase of the journey?
Yeah.
For the second phase of like when your body no longer works with you.
Yeah.
When you now have to make sure your technique is perfect. And you see that in the verse, like, so look at the boxers from the 90s versus the boxers from the 70s and the 80s, especially the older guys now, right? If you look at how a lot of the boxing in the 70s and 80s was based off of fundamentals.
Yeah.
Right? They drill in and out, day in. It's a totally different way of fighting. Some of those older cats accepted different things that the newer guys don't now. And we see even this current generation, so the boxers from the 2000s
Yeah.
and 2010s, they're a totally different breed of fish,
Yeah.
right? Totally different breed of fish. And it's not fair to compare these guys to the guys before or vice versa. It's
No.
not fair because it's a totally different ball game.
Yeah, the game has changed.
But what we see throughout all of it is if you have been taught fundamentals and you understand the art, the science of it,
Yeah.
right? If you understand the science of it, no matter how you came to the knowledge,
Yeah.
if you understand the science of it, that translates,
Yeah.
right?
There's two people that I'm thinking of. One is historical and one is modern. So the historical one is, I think it was lieutenant or colonel. I can't remember. Hughes.
Mhm.
He learned broadsword, traditional broadsword from McAlpine.
Yeah.
And he also taught the regulation, like
Yeah.
Roworth. So in America, they were expected to learn the regulation version of it. And he taught both. And he said,
Mhm.
or traditional Highland broadsword.
Yeah.
Two different things.
Yeah.
And then you get somebody like Jim Emmons, right?
Mhm.
Who's
Mhm.
teaching like Barbasetti and classical saber.
Yes.
But some of his people are also training Olympic saber, and
Yeah.
some of the youth are going into that program.
Yeah.
They're going to do well because they have the fundamentals. They're going to have to learn how to apply it in
Yeah.
a different way.
Mhm.
But the core of it really hasn't changed.
No, it has not changed. And like I said, it's just one art. It's one art, and it's been, and you can look through all the sources, you can look through all the stuff, you can see the footprint all throughout history. You can
Yeah.
see the footprint, and
Yeah,
once the foot,
it's not a dead. It never died. Like I think
never-
some of the branches they definitely withered,
yeah,
but it's all connected to the trunk, which is
Yeah.
fencing.
yeah, all has been there.
Yeah, and then there's also like boxing that you
Mhm.
can add to it. There's some stick fightings. Like when
Yeah.
I went to Italy, I was surprised at how well like Loda and his crew. A bunch of them are beautiful Italian stick fighters,
Mhm.
and I didn't really know that about them before.
Right.
Right, and it's very good. It translated very well to saber broadsword
Mhm.
stuff that they were doing too.
Yeah.
But they're looking at it from multiple angles.
Yeah.
And combat sports,
And
some of them do savat as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you should not do as you're preparing the journey to prepare someone else for where you are at now, so that second lifetime, so to speak, right, is to pigeonhole yourself into this is the only way.
Mm.
You have to be looking at multiple different things
Mhm.
and experience different things, and then go and say, okay, like I can talk to you about a boxing match, and I will not be talking about a boxing match at all. We're actually talking about broadsword.
Yeah.
Right? And I can use the exact same terminology, talk about the same exact thing. And you might think I'm talking about two boxers,
Yeah.
but I'm not talking about two boxers. I'm talking about broadsword.
Mhm.
Because all of the stuff is pulled from there, right? Like
From the beginning, though, look at Fiore and look at what it meant to be a Masters, right? And he's a great example of that because what did he do? He traveled everywhere.
Yes, he
and
did.
he learned from a bunch of different masters,
Yeah.
and he brought back and he made his own style.
Yeah.
What was judo? Exactly the
Yeah.
same thing.
With like Kano and the rest of those folks
Exactly.
going around and doing stuff.
Doing jujitsu.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think that has to be a journey for
Yeah.
like you have to train under multiple coaches.
Yeah. And you
do the hard work.
Right. And you will find your way of speaking.
Yeah.
Right? Your tone, your inflection, how you do things. You're going to find that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And people will come to you for that.
Yeah.
Right? So like it's one of those things like you can tell who trained who when you see someone. It's like, oh, I know who that is. I know who your instructor is.
A
Right?
good portion of Canadian broadsword looks like the way I fence.
Yep.
When people saw Matt fencing,
Yeah.
they said that looks like you a few years ago.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, it does. It's the
Yep.
same thing.
It's the same thing, right? So it's like, when people see some of the folks at my club, it's like,
They look like you.
Yeah, right?
But not in a bad way. They
No.
still look like themselves.
like themselves. That's right.
Yes.
But there's a footprint.
There is.
Right? And we have to accept that we're at that point now in the collective phase of it where you're going to see the footprint
Mm-hmm.
of different people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're going to see people try to emulate some folks. You're going to see that. You're going to see people pick and choose different things. The same way how a 13-year-old in a boxing gym looks at several fighters and say, I want to take this person's jab.
Yeah.
I want to take this right hand from Tommy Hearns. I want to take this person from blah, blah, and they do a big old
Yeah.
right. And they might have a trainer that says to you, well, you're not as tall as Tommy Hearns, so it's not going to make sense for you to throw a right hand like that.
Yeah.
But I can give you somebody close.
Yeah.
And they steer them along, so then they start picking from point to point to point, right? And you see that. And I think that's the great beauty in it all, is that they're all going to come to their own way. And what we have to do as people who have reached that maestro title, who've reached that point of being called, okay, your master, whatever stuff, is right now I'm just preparing you. I'm preparing you for when you get to that point where the second lifetime starts.
Yeah.
Because the first lifetime is 10 years.
Yeah.
That's the first lifetime. It's 10 years. In that 10 years, when you just started, up until the last part of that decade, you will have made every mistake you need to make. You would have gone through all of the heartache of going to a tournament and not placing. You have gone to this and finding your way, stumbling through the dark, in finding your own way and getting used to your body and doing things and moving things. And then you have to start the grief process of understanding, hey, my body is not going to be able to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So now I have to get into the deeper aspect of this.
Yeah.
How do I still perform? How do I still do stuff? Right?
Yeah. I think we both had coaches that can't coach, or like you come to your close.
Yes.
Right? And I think when you see that and you feel that, you realize just how special and valuable that time that you had is.
Yep.
And just like you start preparing, it's almost like me and you are building our pyramids for when we're during our lifetime.
Yeah, during life.
For when, and not in an egotistical way.
No.
But what you're doing is you're preparing because you know that that's your journey. You're heading towards nothing.
You're heading towards that. Like there's a point in time, you and I and whoever else, we will not be able to lift a sword anymore.
Yeah.
We might be able to talk to somebody and tell them how to do it.
Yeah.
With a stick or something.
Maybe run a coaching program.
Maybe run a coaching program, something, but we won't be able to do it anymore.
No.
We won't. And that's just a phase of life.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing is that we are only here for a generation.
Yeah.
And then there'll be other kings that take over from after us, right? Like we cannot be king forever.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we all have to remind ourselves about. And we see the pitfall with a lot of professional athletes. They want to remain. They can't
let it go.
Right.
And then they fight when they're past their prime. Right. And they get hurt. Yeah.
You have to.
But sometimes it's worth it for the money. We don't have that.
We don't have that. But at some point you might get that.
You know what I think we will get is 40 plus, 50 plus, right up to 70 plus age categories. And I think that's where it's at, is you'll have a really good year when you're 50.
Yes.
And then when you're 54, 55, you'll have a few bad years.
But we see that in Olympic fencing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you see the veterans doing their thing, they really have mastered it. Now you can tell this is now a fencing match between two FA masters.
And they call it Master Division.
And this is called Master's Division. And we all look at that title, and I remember growing up as a kid, looking at something like, I don't know, this is old fogies.
Yeah.
Right? These guys are like whatever and stuff.
But it's not. It's a lifetime of work.
Lifetime of work, right? And it's like a totally different game.
Yeah.
Totally different game. And then you begin to see just how terrifying, especially if you think of the concept of people doing this when it was for real.
Yeah.
And sharp, right? Just how terrifying somebody that would be, right? Especially if they've been dispatching people regularly all throughout that first phase. And now that the second phase,
you can see why they become obsessed with it, right? Because they would probably have seen scenarios where it went wrong.
Yeah.
And then they would constantly spend the rest of their life trying to think about how to master that scenario.
Right. And you see, and especially like when we look at like if you go outside of like the European context and you look at Japan and East Asia, and you see the height of philosophy coming out of like extremely violent situations, right? And the amount of stuff that people write based off of like, this is the true path of the sword, or this kind of, it's basically someone battling with their own mortality.
Yeah.
Right. And they begin to reach that next point, right? That whole thing. And you get into all these different principles and stuff. For example, you look at, Miyamoto Musashi, right? When he was a young person versus when he wrote his book, and he was in his 50s when he wrote his book, and he died shortly after.
Yeah.
Right. And that was kind of like his memoir to himself, right? His like almost like an ode to himself, just being like, here are the things that you need to focus on that will get you success. And I know this to be because I'm not the person I was when I was a young man. Because a lot of his fights, he didn't even win via swords.
Yeah.
He did all kind of roguery nonsense, bashing people's heads in with rocks, hitting them with boat oars and sticks and all this kind. He never fought honestly. It was not a thing for him. He was completely concerned with victory. That's all he cared about. This is what made him terrifying. And then people realize, oh yeah, this is not a cat you want to mess with because he's not going to show up to your dojo
I'm not going to play by the rules.
Play by the rules and be
Yeah.
friendly.
Yeah.
Right? He's dojo crashing,
Yeah.
essentially, right? He's proving to himself like there's some part of him in his belonging that he's like, I need to prove for myself. There's like a hole there, right? And you see that in situations now in modern fight gyms with people showing up at the door.
Yeah,
saying,
you see that in HEMA too.
Yeah, you see in HEMA, right? You know, I've got 300 street fights.
Yeah.
Right? I got 300 street fights, man. I've won them all. Really? Okay. Yeah, I want to take your best guy. Okay. You want to sign the waiver? Sure. Yeah. And they go in and they do, and
then they're a YouTube video,
and then they're YouTube reel.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to imagine that Musashi's doing that.
Yeah.
But with some of the gumption to back it up. It wasn't just someone just completely delusional. He was just somebody, I need to prove. And if you think about it, the context for him in being able to prove himself to that degree is that he was seeking the highest form of office for someone in his station, which is to be the fencing instructor for the shogun.
Yep.
Right? There was no higher calling in terms of being provided for, looked after. It was like you're going for the top job. And he was in deep competition with other fencing masters of his generation for it. He lost it to Yagi Munenori. Yeah. Right? He lost it. And he then went on to do his own school, and people came and they learned stuff from him and whatever. But by the time that all of his...
And it's not connected to the modern school of where they use two swords.
No.
That's a separate thing.
Yes.
They'll say it in videos where they're like, oh, this is the way Musashi fought, but it's not really connected to it.
No. And
they were almost HEMA-ists remaking it.
Yeah. And that's the truth, because there's a broken line of transmission in Japan through it, right? Yeah. It's not like Katori Shinto that's continued the whole way through. Yeah. Right? There is, and for a lot of Japanese, there are broken lines that people stop and start and come back again. Yeah. Right?
I think a lot of our guys are like Musashi in some ways, and same with they're like Mike Tyson too, right? Where it's like, it's so clearly the case of somebody that's trying to prove, like they've been hurt by something, their ego has been hurt by something, and they're really trying to prove that they're anything but that. They're trying to prove that they're a tough guy, you know? Yeah. Like I think that all of us that end up being competitive, you got a bit of a chip on your shoulder for whatever reason.
And sometimes it can be a pleasant chip, and sometimes it can be a real serious one, right?
Yeah. Mine is not a pleasant one. Yeah, it's not a pleasant one, right? Yeah. And you have to kind of consider about, like, you know, like you have to constantly reconsider like why you're doing it, what you're trying to prove, and get okay with losses and get okay, you know, like it's not really a pleasant, but I find that with a lot of the guys, like I think a lot of the guys that are kind of at the top, it's like you've got to have at least experienced bullying of some kind. You had to have, otherwise there's no point to this.
No. And I think it's kind of like, as I say to some of my students, there has to be a dog in there. Yeah. There has to be a dog.
And it only gets awakened by somebody pulling his tail.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's a specific calling that we all have people at our clubs who will never be competitors. They don't want that. They love it. They love training with it. Some of them are damn good.
Yeah, right? They can be great.
And they can be great.
I'm thinking of a few people from my club, and they kind of like, they're in and out sometimes, but they get a high skill level.
Right. They become very proficient. That's why I keep telling people, don't focus on proficiency. Proficiency is a natural process. Yeah. It's a natural process, especially if they're doing the work and they're showing up, they're putting in the time. They will be proficient.
And that's also why I never judge coaches by necessarily their students. I think that's a wrong thing to do, because like to get people that are truly exceptional and to create champions, that's not even up to you. No. It has to 100% come from inside that person. It has to be somebody that's willing to wake up early. It has to be somebody who's willing to stay up late at night and has a chip on their shoulder to prove something.
And I think more so than that, it also, like, I tend to look at it a little bit differently. If your program is strong, you will get people to medal.
You'll get people to medal, but a true champion. I mean, somebody undefeated. We're talking the Mike Tysons. We're talking about the top guys.
That situation.
That's not up to you.
No. And those, again, generational people. Yeah. Generational people. Right. And we see it even now with, like, you know, Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin, and they're generational people. Yeah. They are here for such a brief time, and then they're gone. And people don't realize that like even for Muhammad Ali, he was there for that generation.
Yeah.
And that was all
That's
that you
it.
got.
Yeah.
You didn't get any. And once it's done, it's done. And you move, and there'll be other people, right? Which is why it makes no sense, as far as I'm concerned, to try to compare people. It's like all time great nonsense. They're all great,
Yeah.
but the beauty and the awesomeness is to be alive in the time when they're there. That is the beauty, right?
Yeah.
You're alive in that time. You were part of that generation where you
Yeah.
saw it,
You know what
right?
I feel recently is like everybody's getting good, right? And so everybody's dangerous. But I feel like there was a run that I had where there was quite a few years where sport fencing was almost like having jujitsu in the early
Yes.
days of MMA,
Yeah.
where it's just like you could do so much better and the fights were way easier. And that's just not the case anymore.
No, because the art is changing.
It is, yeah. And it's becoming its own thing.
It's becoming its own thing. And people, and by sheer extension of seeing success from yourself and other people, people are leaning into that. They're boring. It's like, what is he doing that's good?
Yeah.
I'm going to take, and by extension, they're
Yeah.
now doing classical fencing. By extension,
Yes.
they're now, so that sheer,
And they ask me, they'll
right,
message
the
me, what are
trend,
you doing?
the
I'll say, hey, this is
transmission,
what I'm doing.
This is what I'm doing.
They do it
They
and
do
they're
it, and then say,
good.
okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why it's like because the knowledge is the knowledge. I don't hold like I tell people that I tell my students that I can teach you technique. I can teach you things like distance. I can teach you things like timing. I can teach you these aspects, right? Variables on the question.
Yeah.
I can't teach you the question.
Yeah.
I can't teach you how to fence. I can't teach you how to fence. You have to be willing to fence. You are going to learn fencing from doing the thing, right? It's the same way how I couldn't teach someone how to dance. Even if I had all the accreditation in the world to teach, I can teach you the steps.
Yeah.
But that does not make you a dancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a difference between walking the walk and talking the talk.
You give them the game, but they have to play it themselves.
Exactly. And you have to make it you.
Yeah.
Right? You have to make it you. And there's a part of that as a teacher, you have to accept when someone will not do that. Right? And you have to just understand this is where this person's at and work with them where they're at, not where you want them to be. The worst thing that you can do is project anything onto anyone. Even if we talk about someone becoming a master, that kind of thing, you got to be an open book, right? It has to be an open book. You can't even project nothing. You just can't. Because then you are stifling that person. You're snuffing out that candle because you don't know where the flame is going to go. You have no idea, right? It's like a fire. You can't control fire. You can't.
Yeah. One of the things that I was criticized for a few times by a bunch of different people was putting up videos of me fencing constantly and oversharing at seminars, like teaching everybody everything, all the secret stuff, all the best stuff that you could do, and just being honest about it. And there's a few people who said that, and there are some people that don't post footage of themselves fencing because they don't want their opponents to see it, and they don't want, do you know what I mean, to analyze it. So for me, one of the things that I said to them, and I think about all the time, is that for where we're at in the phase of HEMA, it's more important to grow the sport than it is yourself. Because we're not there yet. We're not at
but the thing is, it speaks to like laziness.
Yeah.
Right? So what if people see footage of you from 4 years ago? Are you fencing like that? No, absolutely
exactly.
not.
Yeah.
So they're preparing for somebody who's 4 years. That person's gone.
Yeah. But even if, like, as a competitor, when I'm in the competitive mindset, not as a coach, what I think of as a competitor is I should be able to show you everything that I'm doing, and I need to be outworking you. I need to be outtrained.
But it's only relevant for that time.
It's only relevant for that time, and then it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And that's why,
that's why gold medals don't feel good, is because you'll smile and you'll be good for an evening.
Yes.
And then after that, it's like, what about the next one?
Yeah.
Because you only proved who you were up against in that moment. They've already changed by tomorrow. And there's more people that are coming up all the time.
Right. And the way I look at it is you have your day.
Yeah.
Every person has their day in the sun. And eventually there will be a time where you will have thunderclouds.
Yeah.
The curtains will close on you. If you don't stop growing. If you will always reach some point of success.
Yeah.
If you're constantly pushing yourself to keep re-examining, to keep changing the way how you approach things, to keep evolving, no matter where you're at, you will find success.
Yeah.
It is the day that you stop and the day that you said, I have reached all that I can reach. There is nothing more that I can do. And that's just simply not true.
And a lot of the old guys, to be fair, reached that phase way too early.
100%. Which is why they ended up, people caught up to them.
And it's irrelevant now.
And it's relevant now.
And it's kind of like what I felt like was maybe 10 years ago or 5 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, is me and you were experiencing a battle with those people because they're still clinging on to
past glory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And now I feel like it's dead.
Well, that's the thing, right? I think, people say, standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
Right? That's the phase. Eventually people will stand on our shoulders, right? And we're only here for a time.
But there's a point where you can be so wretched with it.
Yes.
That it's like you've discredited your legacy now.
Yeah, 100%.
By being somebody who like fought against the people that would have treated you good or would have appreciated you.
But again, I look at it as if it is to happen, it will happen. And if you are to be a footnote in history, you will be a footnote.
Yeah.
And we see that all throughout history. We know that there's different fencing masters who never made it.
Yeah.
They don't have a book. People don't talk about them. They might be mentioned in some little ledger somewhere, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine at that time, be it that they died early or something else, or they were just wretched people. You can see there's a reason why they didn't continue, right? And a lot of people, have profound impacts on things.
Yeah.
And when we look at the books that we have now, are all records of folks who were the innovators of their day.
And put in the money to make nice pictures.
I put in the money to make nice pictures.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, that is correct. But they were the innovators.
Yeah.
Right? Salvatore Fabris changed the face of fencing as we know it.
Yeah.
Right? When we look at...
well, even George Silver.
Yes.
Even when you look at him, his stuff is just like little footnotes, and somehow it was still relevant in the 1800s. They were bringing it back up.
Yep.
Because he had influenced things enough. He had been talked about in other sources.
Enough.
Yes.
Where he's like, we need to go find this person.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Right?
Here it is.
There it is. Right? Marcelli.
Yeah.
Right? These are big. There's a reason why we have these grounds.
Or even, or Fiore, like,
right?
Because you see him in all those German books too that are copying it.
Right? Now, again, he was very, very prevalent for about 400, 500 years.
Yeah.
And then when that style of fighting got phased out, that was it.
Yeah.
Right? So he had...
But he was still in enough libraries that we have multiple copies.
Exactly. Have multiple copies of things. It's like, oh yeah, he was really... of his day, he was the innovator.
Yeah.
One of them.
Especially for back then with hand-copied books. Yeah.
Right. So he was one of the innovators. Right? And that's what we have, is an innovator.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's why I think that's the next phase. Once you become proficient, you become an innovator.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the innovator, now you actually are beginning the part of the master.
Yeah.
Right? That's the part. Because I bet you Fiore fencing or doing whatever he's doing at 40-some years old is nowhere near what he was doing when he was starting to compile that book.
Yeah. My coach had a different way of seeing this for the master thing, but he talked about the same things as you.
Yeah.
And what he said was master would be a standard that you could reach. And there would be people that would be innovators that would be like high up above that, right? Or there would be people that would be just meeting it.
Mm-hmm.
So there would be people that are just at the recreational level that only train, they only train beginners, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can become a master of that.
Yeah, you can. Well, again, it's one of those things where if you want to use it as a title to recognize proficiency in doing something, sure. But I look at it more as a transcendence type thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my head's at now.
Yeah, I think that's like a idealized, like the perfect idea of it.
Yeah.
When I ask you, like, what's your vision of what is appropriate for it? That's the idea of the ideal.
The ideal is that.
And it doesn't mean that that's what people are going to attain.
No.
Right? Because at the end of the day, it's a certification, pass tests, like do your thesis.
There is a physical process to it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, where does it go from there?
Yeah.
Right? And do you just stop because you pass your test?
No.
Right?
Like, it's like the black belt. That's the beginning.
It's the beginning.
Yeah. I feel like I'm learning new stuff all the time.
That's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah.
is I've reached a point now. Is like, yeah, now the journey really begins.
Yeah, and it's at the point where it's like back in the day when I learned new stuff, I felt like an idiot,
Mm-hmm.
and now I don't
No.
because it's like infinite.
Yeah, it's infinite, right? So and you learn to change your way how you view things. You're changing your way, like take example like seminar last night, right? I don't let people use the word weird.
Yeah,
I don't let them use the word can't. I don't let them use certain words that you
that's
just
weird. I can't understand that.
right. But I just don't, because where are you pulling that statement from?
Yeah,
If you've never done something
yeah,
before,
that's good. That's good CBT right there.
right? How
Right,
can
is
it be weird?
your self talk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. And people need to remember, when I'm learning a new skill, self-talk and my idea of how I am doing that skill is more important than the skill itself.
mm-hmm.
Because if I put a mental block up, I will never get the skill, because I'll be fighting the idea in my head.
Yeah,
I will never be fighting the actual skill itself.
mm-hmm.
And that's something where a lot of people defeat themselves,
Totally.
right?
Yeah,
You have to go into it like a wet sponge, or a dry sponge at that matter, and just absorb,
yeah,
right? You know nothing.
and that's okay. So that's one thing that I think I've done pretty well with
Mm-hmm.
is I'll go to a bunch of different coaches
Mm-hmm.
and they'll say, hey, like this is the way I'm going to show you how to do it. How do you normally do it? And I'll say, I don't care how I normally do it. I want to learn your way.
Yeah.
Show me a new and it's like if I can use it once or twice, or if I can know 2 or 3 ways of doing this,
Mm-hmm.
all the better.
Mm-hmm.
So make me do it your way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I found that's a great strategy in life. It's like those annoying dudes at boxing when a coach will be like, "Oh, throw your hook like this," and he's like, "Ah, don't turn it like this." It's just like learn what the coach is teaching that
Yes.
day, and then you got another one, and you can always go back to what you already know.
Because there's always application in something, right? There's always a solution to something.
Yeah.
And you might not have the answer, but somebody else might.
Yeah.
And if you close yourself off to that,
yeah,
you'll never reach where you're trying to get to.
It's done for you. Yeah.
It's done. And that's one of the things like you have to be cognizant of,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I have spent the last 4 years going through every last iota of all the broadsword I could get a hold of to really get a grasp of it and to understand the context and nuance of it, right? Would I say that I am the greatest broadsword instructor in Canada? No, I'm not. God, no. And I will never think that. But that's something that you can't let yourself get into, right? You can't let yourself get into that kind of thought.
Well, it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant,
Yeah.
exactly, right? And it's more of like, what?
But I feel like that's what the old guard was focused on.
Yeah.
It was like, I am the most foremost expert
voice on this thing.
on this area. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that's irrelevant. What if a new dude pops up and you understand?
Right.
Like with yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like I could have taken that in a negative way. And I never had that instinct because it's like, oh, great. Now I get to see it from, somebody who understands language differently,
Yeah.
somebody who has a different view on it,
Yeah.
or who has a fresh set of eyes that hasn't been indoctrinated the way I have
Yeah.
from my teacher.
Yeah.
How is that not a win-win? I just
Yeah.
can't understand these old dudes that are not like that. I remember having with my teacher kind of like arguments or discussions about making feints with minimal motion
Right.
versus overdoing it by lifting the arm
Yeah.
fully, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, you don't want to hinge from the elbow, right? As you're doing that, you're going to get cut.
Yep. You want to get cut, and there's like wherever people are coming from, different backgrounds, they're going to give you something. They're going to add to the discussion.
Yeah.
They will not take away from it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, unless there's somebody you really need to avoid.
Yes.
And that happens from time to time,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
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 Well, I think that's it for the convo. I don't want to make it too long, but
Yeah.
we should do another. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. No worries,
Thanks,
buddy. No worries.
That was good.